Okay, well, welcome to Coffee with a Purpose, everyone. Hope everybody had an opportunity to enjoy Father's Day yesterday. I know we did. And our topic this morning is going to be Juneteenth, and we've got with us, or we'll have with us, representatives from two Natick-based groups, Black Lives Belong and Black Lives Matter Metrowest. And I think we're kind of semi-roughly dividing the time among those two groups, but I'm sure it'll just be good, cordial discussion kind of throughout the whole thing. But that being said, Black Lives Belong, we gave you guys the option of going first. I know you had some time constraints on some of your speakers. I guess I'd leave it to the group. Shall we? I think it's all kind of the regulars that pretty much know everybody. Should we do introductions? Or I see at least another person maybe that I don't recognize. So
A
yeah,
couple of people are lesser known over here, so maybe.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do introductions. Hang on a second. Keep our phone from ringing. That's Ricky, I think. Why don't we start with the folks at Metroworks there, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
I'm gonna start with Bill because you're eating. Okay.
The last name Sweetwaters.
Hi, I'm Bill Ramage, active in town, interested in many things, longtime Coffee with a Purpose attendee, and like to hear what's going on. So welcome.
And I'm Martin Kessel, sort of co-host here and presenter next week, and a lot of roles in the town of Natick.
Morning, everyone. Gary Schulman, the Natick for over 20 years, the Natick Rotary. I should apply to go on the finance committee, see how that goes.
Oh. Good for you, Gary.
Bruno, Giles, been Natick for a long time. I went to Natick High School, member of Black Lives Belong, and I run a drum circle over at Common Street once a month.
I'm Donna McKenzie, and I'm also a member of Black Lives Belong. And I kind of a gadfly about town, I guess. I did a lot of things, and it's great to be here.
I'm Cindy Bates, 5-year resident of Natick, trail steward, Keep Natick Beautiful, picker-upper, and member of Sound and Spirit, of course.
And we have one latecomer, which ironically is the very person I was talking to you about a moment ago about punctuality. He was teaching me about how to get a group to be punctual. So this is my son. Where are you? Where you said the seriousness was always getting later and later with the meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I know. It's great. Nathan, nice to meet you all.
Great. And is that everybody there at Metroworks? Great. And online, I see Kathleen.
Morning, everybody. I'm Kathleen Donovan, 35-year resident of Natick. I've been a longtime member of the Library Board of Trustees, and we think all lives matter over there at the library. And so really looking forward to hear how we're celebrating Thursday. And I'm also a volunteer with Keep Natick Beautiful.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen. Rick.
Rick Deborah, volunteer, latecomer to Natick, only 7 years, 8 years almost now, and latecomer to this meeting too often. So, but I'm here today, so looking forward to it.
Hey, Rick. Sally.
Good morning. I too am only here for 8 years, but once you're in Natick, you feel like, you know, you belong. And I'm very, of course, active with my brother Pat and Keep Natick Beautiful. I like what Cindy Bates says. I'm a trash picker-upper, but it keeps a beautiful town beautiful. I'm also very supportive and very much a part. I'm not as articulately active, but Black Lives Belong. Which, I think we all belong. And but this is.
Oh, she got muted. Yeah.
Did I mute her? I'm trying to. There's a lot of people that are need to be muted, but not her. Okay, sorry.
right, well, let's move on. She can
Oh,
jump in
yeah, okay.
again.
I jumped in and I'll just say that's all, but I'm eager to hear Donna and Bruno talk a little more about the Black Lives Belong.
Great.
Hi, Doug.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm on the road.
okay,
I had to go. My daughter is here from LA, and I'm in Boston.
okay,
So I can hear the meeting.
okay.
And when I don't know if you want me to just chime in real quick about my thing because I'm not gonna be able to talk.
Yeah, if now's really the best time, like, can you hang on just for a second? Let us finish our introductions and then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Then okay.
yeah, if that's okay, okay. So,
Thank you.
Carol,
Good morning. I'm Carol Berkowitz, and I've been living in Natick over 50 years and love this town and coffee with a purpose. Good morning.
thanks, Carol. Pat.
Yes, good morning. I'm Pat Conaway, Sally's younger brother.
Hey, Pat.
Not much
Polly?
younger, anyway. Keep Natick beautiful. Yeah.
Great. Polly?
Good morning, Paulie. I belong to the Black Lives Belong group with Donna and Bruno and Don and a few others, and it's a great group. We'll have a presence on June 19th on the Common. I will be there, and it's a great group. As they say, small but mighty, and we're always looking for more able-bodied participants to join our group.
Thanks, Paul. Ann.
Hey, Anne Arnett Gregley, live in Natick Center, lived here for about 10 years. It's where I chose to start my family, coming from the, living in college, partying in downtown kind of life. Long time ago, I should clarify. And yeah, just love being here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, learning today, especially, with importance of Thursday as well. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thanks, Ann. Brinley.
Morning, Brinley Vickers, reasonably long time resident of Natick, even though there are people in the group been here much longer than me. Running around about town doing things. I'm really happy you guys are here today and happy to support you, and thanks.
Great. Let's see, who else do I see? Carrie.
Off camera for the moment. I think a lot of you know me, Carrie Butfield, involved with different issues around town. I've got a puppy dog that's not doing too well. I made a phone call to the vet. I'm expecting a call back, so I'm going to be kind of offline and just listening in on the conversation. But thanks for showing up.
Great. And I see Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Good morning, everybody. I don't even know what's on deck today, but I'm glad to be here. I was at the protest on Saturday, and my God, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we had a couple of thousand people there. And
yeah, I think just about everybody on here was there too.
Oh, it was, and I had the most amazing. I met I met so many people that were key to what I want to do. It was incredible. Who's our speaker and what are we doing today?
Hi.
Yeah, we're ready to go. I don't know where.
We have one more person here.
Yeah, we have one more person here.
Hi, I'm Debbie Seher. I live in Natick. I am with Black Lives Belong and have two daughters that live here, and you're going to hear a little bit from them via video in a couple of minutes, and excited to talk about Juneteenth.
Great. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Hannah. Doug and I have been in Natick for 40-something years. I'm involved in a lot of stuff around town and interested to hear today's program. Thanks.
Great. And I'm Doug. I moderate this group. Again, longtime Natick resident. So just a logistical concern. I know Black Lives Belong had asked to go first because they had some time restrictions, but Deborah's also got a concern where she's on the road and really isn't going to have much connectivity.
Yeah,
I do have to
I'm
run
here.
to a meeting, and
I
so
could go, I could go ahead. I could go ahead now, Doug. Deborah?
Yeah, for a few minutes,
go
Deborah, but
to a
we
meeting,
do,
and I have to pick my daughter up at school.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Deborah. I'm on the road and this is the only time I can speak. My daughter is here from LA and I had to say
I
goodbye.
have
So,
to, I have to go pick my daughter up
well,
from the high.
I'm on the road. We don't have to argue about this. I could just speak for 1 minute. Could you give me 1 minute?
Yeah,
Yeah, 1
so,
minute's great.
yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
Oh, gosh. All right. I'm sorry, guys, about this confusion. I have a child here from LA and a very, very sick ex-husband. So I'm in Boston right now. I had to take the trip to Boston. So I pulled over on the side of the road because I didn't want to miss this very important meeting. Okay, I am the founder. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, yep.
Yes.
Yes, I am the founder of Natick Black Lives Matter. We started in when George Floyd was murdered. I believe, what year was that? 2020?
2020.
2020, yes. I had a group of people that work with me. I had Paul Carew, who was the, Paul, you was the, I forget what you were, but you were the, Paul, Donna. We had a big committee. And we did a lot of good work. We did a lot of planning we did a lot of YouTubes. We had Bishop Kelly. And so now we have evolved into, we closed that out and now we're Black Lives Matter Metro West. So we deal with the whole Metro West. So for Juneteenth, I'm going to have my tent up. And also I'm working in Boston with a group called Princess Group with women of color, children of color. And also I'm going to be doing October 4th in Wayland. We're going to be doing a multicultural day in Wayland and the multicultural day in Natick. We have a very big presence. Children love us. I also do Popping Beans, children's books. Thank you, Paul, Donna, Bruno, everybody that was on and members of Black Lives Matter. I also have the Keeping It Real TV show. See my hat? That I'm going to give. Randy probably gave me this, so I'm officially a volunteer with Randy. And Doug, you said you would share the show.
Yes.
Finally, because I have to get back on the road, I'm trying to get back to my daughter. Finally, I'm going to be a chapter of the Black Lives Matter grassroots. And it's a chapter led by Black people. It's originally the Black Lives Matter group. And I'm onboarding with them now. Because of all the work we did in Natick, I got accepted as a local chapter officially of the global grassroots movement in LA. So I'll be going to LA July 10th through 14th. They're going to pay for my way. They're going to do all that. And I have a new team I'm working with. I'll send you the logo and you could share that later. Thank you.
All right.
And I'm going to get back on the road.
Yeah, thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks, Deborah. And,
Thanks, Deborah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, and Deborah Seher, thanks very much for allowing her to go first. It sounded like her day was going to heck. So let's turn back over to Black Lives Belong.
Me?
Yep,
You're
going
up.
first.
You're up.
You're up.
Okay. Well, I just wrote a little something for the introduction about Black Lives Belong, and our goals will be dedicated to advocating for justice, equality for all, but specifically for people of color in our local towns. We will aim to create a safe and welcoming environment for our young people throughout the school system where their voices can be heard. Together, we will work towards a future where Black lives are not only protected, but also celebrated. And we will have a booth at Juneteenth also. And my drum group, the Drum Nomad, will be performing there. And there'll be some reading and, and Debbie, you can speak about it.
So there's going to be, I mean, the Frederick Douglass, as happens every year at Juneteenth, will be really exciting. We're going to have some tattoos for kids having to do with Juneteenth, and we're going to have slap wristbands for all those little kids that love that type of stuff. And we're going to have some Black history games as well, revolving primarily on kind of local Massachusetts Black history. For those that don't know me, I have 6 children. My 2 youngest were adopted and are Black, and are in the Natick High School. And we've had a really mixed experience in Natick. I will say that they've experienced some really significant racism. They are frequently the only Black person on a team, on a chorus. And it's hugely impactful. And so part of the reason for Black Lives Belong is just making the point of what belonging is. And that people really, Black people really do belong in Natick. And I think that the girls frequently run into situations where people assume they're Meco kids or that they don't live here, and they very much do. And so I think going to Bruno's point about making the schools safe and welcoming, that is a real goal of ours. And just really communicating with the school district and really keeping, because Black lives are really only about 2 to 3% of our population in town. So Black kids in our schools really are among the most marginalized children in the school systems, and giving voice to them and helping them learn to use and channel their own voice is really important. And that's a real focus of our multicultural group. So the girls are very involved. You're going to hear from them in a minute. I will just say that we're hoping to get a 501c3 going so that we can expand our work. We have been, and we really want transparency around the money and where things go. We held a bystander training a month and a half ago that was well attended at the Berkowitz room at the library. You were there, yep, and it was fantastic, right? Craig Scott came, and we probably had 60 people there. And it was really great, and we'd love to do more events like that, bring in some really good speakers. We'd like to get to a point that we can offer a scholarship. So working on a 501c3 is really important towards those goals, and making sure that we can bring some robust training into town. And with that, do we have the videos? The 2 videos?
Yeah, we have 2 videos. So
Hear from
Martin
my
and
2
I
daughters.
experimented with these at the outset, so hopefully they will play okay. I just want to make sure that everybody remote has themselves muted. Was there something before the videos or no?
Cindy has a quick question.
It is a name we created. Bruno had a friend that helped us create the logo, and it's something that we chose because we really, not just that you matter, but that you actually belong and that you have a space at the table. And I think that that is really gets to our focus is what is belonging and how do you belong to this lovely town of Natick?
So it's unique here in Natick.
Yeah, it is. We are unique.
That's really cool.
All right, let's attempt this first video. I think it will work.
There they are.
Yep.
There they are. I'm going to hit play. I've got the volume on this one maximized, which hopefully will be loud enough. So this one's very short.
Hi, I'm Lolo. And I'm Maribel, and we're founding members of Black Lives Belong. We'll be at the Juneteenth celebration on Thursday. Sorry we couldn't make it to Coffee with a Purpose, but we'd like to show this educational and enlightening clip from Blackish.
All right. So that was that one. Let me stop this share. And in the video that
it's a great show.
So this is how I should have handled my video.
Yeah, I showed him the little checkbox that you're supposed to check when you share to share the sound as well.
right. Okay. Here we go.
Mama?
Yeah, babe.
Can you tell us a story?
Of course I can. Baby, what kind of story you want to hear?
Tell us a scary story. No. Tell us a love story.
Ooh, tell us a story about a slave who gets free.
Junior.
All right, face it. Your life is a
sorry
complete
about
mess
that,
right
but
now.
it's
The
just a
laundry's not
short ad.
folded. You haven't exercised in weeks. You're spending way too much.
Say, oh my God, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
You see, them light-skinned babies never know how to act.
Here's a story won't get us all killed. How we built this country for free.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right.
We raised their children, then raised their buildings, and they made billions.
I'm catching feelings. Really? What else did we build?
Railroads, Wall Street, the White House and University.
UVA.
We built that.
Chapel Hill.
We built that. Pyramids. No, sorry, our Hebrew brothers get credit for that.
Mazel. Let's turn up and get it poppin'.
Settle down, we still ain't got nothing. We built this. We built this. I'm done, y'all. I'ma keep it 100.
Tomorrow when I hit the field, I'ma keep running.
We did everything that the overseer wanted.
And if we got paid, then we'd be stunting. Sugar cane, cotton ham. My blood and sweat paid for this land. My life would have been different if I didn't have cinnamon pigment. We built this.
What happens now?
We're free, dummy!
Okay, but what does that mean?
Wait. Pops.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What do you think it means, dummy? We're free. We're free to do whatever we want.
Then can I ride a horse?
Oh, absolutely, baby.
Can I buy strawberry soda?
Yeah, but you're gonna have to get in line behind me.
Can I be president?
Settle down.
That's your son.
Okay, I got it, Pops. Listen to this, son. Being free means we're finally gonna be equal to the white man.
Juneteenth, it was the 20th, but the 19th when it was told to us. It's time to vote for me to take part in this democracy.
Tell them freedom papers up, please, cause we don't need to show ID.
It's June 19th, we celebrate. Grab a blonde and Miss Seher. Ooh, ain't that something? I can finally whistle at a white woman.
I'ma start a business. I'ma get along. I'ma move to the burbs and buy me a home. I'ma take a vacation and when I'm gone,
they won't burn crosses on my lawn.
I can sit at the Colorado.
And I won't get sprayed with a fire hose.
When I get reparations, I'ma act a fool. Plant my 40 acres and go straight to mule. I'm 40 acres and a mule.
Get my 14 acres and a mule. Get my 14 acres and a mule.
Not really big into committing to things.
And so I will say, when you look at that and think about the freedom that everybody was offered on Juneteenth or thought they were being offered, we still haven't really achieved that freedom and equality. I look around and I think a couple things come to mind. When I had my girls' DNA done through Ancestry.com, one of my daughters was adopted from Ghana, so West African. She was born up along the border of Sierra Leone. And you wouldn't believe how much slave heritage she has relatives that were brought here as slaves. So even though she was born in Ghana, her parents were in a tribe in Ghana, she has so much DNA related to the South Carolina slave trade. And my other daughter was born here in the US, and I adopted her as a newborn. She has more Irish in me than me, in which as a redheaded Brady, I thought that was really kind of funny. But she also has significant heritage from the slave trade, and that's one of the things they can track on Ancestry.com and see what pockets of slavery and kind of how they came. And so when we talk about immigration stories in school, that is not an immigration story that any American should be proud of. We brought these people as enslaved humans to this country, and we are still definitely not at a place that we are where my girls ever feel equal. And it has been, so I look at Juneteenth and the promises of Juneteenth, and we still, each Juneteenth, need to carry it forward and work harder for equality. We need to work harder in our town to remember that we are not a town for primarily white people. We have some Black folks in our town, and that they are fully equal to us. They are not to be stared at in stores, or the girls have been called slaves in their classrooms. They've been called the insular. We actually had a Natick public school teacher tell a story about the first time she ever saw a Black person. And she looked at her dad and said, "Daddy, is that person an Oreo?" And that is what is a microaggression, although that was a little more, that's a little bigger than a microaggression. And she's a very nice teacher. But it resulted in the white children at Wilson calling the Black kids Oreos. And that was the new derogatory term allowed within and had to be picked up on quickly. But I mean, there's work to be done, and I'm sure I can focus on the kid perspective because I have two children that experience this all the time, and I'm sure that Black adults in our town also. I mean, my daughter walked into the paper store, and all of a sudden she was being followed by 3 employees in the store, and I watched over and finally gave them a dirty look, and they backed off. But my kids cannot ever fly under the radar. They can't hide their Blackness, and in every space they are in, they have to represent that minority. And there is never a time that they can put it on a back shelf and take off a necklace or take off something that they are Black 100% of the time. And we are in a time that diversity, equity, and inclusion are at great risk. And I think this Juneteenth, it's really important to focus on how important it is to be a diverse town that is equitable and that does include people.
Wow, that's quite a personal testimony statement.
Freshman and sophomore in high school.
Well, I saw the racial profiling at the Natick Mall, like all the time. When my dad was dying, I got a job as a shop girl for a few hours a week at Lord & Taylor, and I could see when the police were called in, security was called in, because they were Black kids. And they were very well scrutinized, what they were looking at, and especially when they went into a fitting room, did they come out with everything that they brought into the fitting room? So I know it's really hard, and I purposely lived in a neighborhood in Detroit, Michigan that was 99% Black, because I wanted to know what it was like to be excluded, what that experience was like, and it was really, really tough. It was tough to see. It was like, parenting is different. Talking to Black parents, they were like, I have to be tough with my kids because they're in a world where they're gonna get beat up because they're Black. And they need to know how to handle that. They need to know what to do if they're stopped by the police. It's a whole different world, and it's a world that's easy to pretend doesn't exist, but it really does exist. And it exists here in Natick, and I worry about the small percentage of Black people that we have even active in our government. And I don't think we have any Black teachers in our schools.
That's sad.
I think it's been really hard to do. I mean, we have an effort. There's been an effort.
Coordinator who's Black.
The Metco
But
coordinator.
that's not a teacher.
I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about people who spend FaceTime
With the
day
students.
in and day out with students. There are no role models, and it was tough when I was on the school committee to get Metco approved down to the elementary grades, because there was some fear that somehow the student teacher ratio would be higher, that there'd be more kids in the classrooms, but really there isn't. It would make more of a critical mass for the Black children that were in Natick to have Black elementary school kids in their class. I mean, it was only right, and ironically, we were one of the first communities. Ricky Ball could probably say more about this. We were one of the first Metco communities to be part of the program, and almost the very last Metco program to fully be extended into the elementary grades. So sometimes we come on bold and then we pull back.
And I do think it's important for people to realize, I mean, I raised my older 4 children in Weston, and the MECO program there was so much more supported. The parents were more involved, there were peer families, the whole way it was run. It was a very welcome program, and the kids were really embraced. And we have a much different dynamic here, and it is a much harder dynamic. And I don't want people to lose sight on what this battle really still is. We're still in a civil rights battle. I mean, my daughter had chocolate milk thrown at her in the lunchroom at Natick High this year and was called the insular as somebody did that. And I think that we have to focus on this in our town, and we've kind of lost sight of it. I think we see ourselves as a very liberal, lovely town, which we are, but there are still these challenges, and those challenges are very real and impactful for people that live here. And I'm sure the administration at the school is going to be tired of hearing from me, because I am the squeakiest wheel they've probably ever met, but it is a huge challenge. And as we walk into Juneteenth, we need to remember what that promise was we made back on Juneteenth and what we are celebrating.
I see Pat's got his hand up.
Pat, I have my hand up too.
You're right after Pat, Deborah. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask a quick question, Deborah, and Bruno maybe, and Donna. The schools in recent years, have they had educational trainings for the teachers, say along the lines of the workshop you just did a few days ago? Is that ongoing?
So the schools do trainings for the teachers, and I mean, I don't think they do enough. To be honest with you, I think they could do more. I think that they do kind of, the state requires some training, and they certainly meet the state requirement. Are they actually going in? I will say, I have a child that's been school avoidant this year, and she was school avoidant for a single class. And what it turned out to be was this teacher, it was microaggression after microaggression after microaggression. And I've heard it from other parents too. So it wasn't just my kid with a relationship problem with the teacher. It was just constantly some racist comments that were kind of under the wire. And my daughter ended up having her class changed, and she has since been successful in the new class. And I think that those microaggressions are really, really hard to shift. I think there's a lot of the use of the insular with a little bit of cultural popular music or some of the big stars. And the reality is there's no need to use the insular at the high school, and there's no need for teachers.
I'm not following what you mean. In what?
In the classrooms, there's been
What?
The N word, the N word.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, sorry.
Thank you.
And so the use of the N-word in the classrooms, and the teachers don't always know how to deal with that, because I think that they're, as a group, white people say, oh, but the Black rappers say that. And the reality is, okay, the Black rappers say that. There's lots of things that happen in music, in rap, on movies that we don't allow to happen in our schools. And there's language we don't tolerate in our schools. And it's been really hard for the teachers to discipline that. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to handle it. And that's always the fallback excuse. And I have talked to Josepha and said, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's an appropriate excuse.
My question is, the N slur is not microaggression, is it?
No, that is a real, I mean, that's hate speech, and the N slur should fall under the label of hate speech, Pat.
Yeah.
And I think should be dealt with that way. I think the schools have had a hard time. It's very difficult when you have an all-white administration, basically, and an all-white teaching body. My kids can look around the classroom, and I'm grateful for this. This is not me saying I'm not grateful, but I'm grateful they can see gay teachers. I'm grateful they can see transgender teachers. I'm grateful they can see teachers with a yarmulke on. I'm grateful that they can see all of this. We just would like a little piece of the pie as far as having some sort of adult system at the school. When I asked at an IEP meeting, is there any type of group to deal with racial aggressions for the MECO kids? Could my kids join that? And there's not. And that is something that Weston did have and was really great about. They had specialized counseling to deal with racial issues. And I don't think our Black student union is enough, our Black and Latina student union is enough to be able to handle some of this stuff. And I think there needs to be more support, because otherwise they don't have a seat at the table. And it shouldn't always be the Black children having to fight for their own rights. And it should be that we are leading that battle. And that's why I don't feel like I'm appropriating to say I am going to take the battle for my girls and I will fight that battle. And for every Black kid at that school, I will fight that battle. And because I have the power to do so, and we all have some power in our voice and need to be using that for that 2.5% minority.
Thanks. I know I have a question, but I want to, go ahead, Deborah Mitchell.
Okay, yes, I want to say that my daughter also attended Natick High. I'm also a Medco parent. I was a Medco parent in Newton from kindergarten to 10th grade. And then we moved to Natick because my mother sold the house. And when I was in Newton, there was not many, there was a Black principal. So I was very hesitant about sending her to pretty much an all-white community, but because we had the Black principal, we bonded, and she, we looked out for her, and she did have to go through some microaggressions as well. But I became the library teacher. I'm a librarian, and I acted as the library teacher as a volunteer. so that my daughter would see and that the other kids would see someone of color. And so I was very involved in the school. I also became part of the PTA in the school. So I was on that too. So it was, I have a big family. So whenever there was a problem, somebody from the family would come up, my dad, my mom, and we're pretty activist people. So we will always come in and talk to people. And I have that personality where I pretty much get along with anybody. So when she came to Natick, she was in her 10th grade, and I was, my mother, she said she can go to Natick. It's a new school, but Leah was a basketball player. She was on the basketball team, and she was only black girl in Natick High School, but she was on the basketball team, so she had like the group of people there to help. They were all always together. There was a basketball practice together. The coach was really nice, and she traveled with the team. The moms, really embraced her, and from there she graduated, and then she went on to UMass Amherst. One of my regrets is that I didn't. I mean, it was just a lot. I was moving from a new town. It was just me and my daughter because I'm divorced, so I didn't get involved in Medco. I could have, but Leah wasn't in Medco anymore. So it was such a relief in a way, because when you are in a Medco program as a black child, black mom, you got to get up at like 5 a.m. just to get on to school. And some of these kids, like Donna is saying, they have to get up so early. And see, Leah was also on the basketball team, so when she was in Natick, she had to get up early, and then I had to drive at 10 o'clock at night to pick her up from practice from the basketball team. So when she went to Natick, it was just like, it was so nice for us. She had her own car. She drove to school. She would go to practice. And plus she was older, and I'm black. I'm a black mom. So,
That's great, Deborah. This is really helpful.
So,
Do you mind?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, and
Oh,
it's really helpful, but we want to give other people also a
all
chance
right,
to ask
let me
questions.
finish.
I need to
Donna.
insert something at this point about Black Lives Belong.
Donna,
Donna,
let Deborah Mitchell finish, and then you go ahead.
So yeah, I'm also an educator. I have a bachelor's degree from Tufts in child studies. So I really use all my skills to help my daughter. And I'm available for anybody who wants to talk. Black Lives Belong, who wants to talk my experience in Natick. And I'll be able to help, I hope. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I know I had a question, but Donna, did you want to say something first? Or?
Yes, I didn't mean to paint a really dire picture. There have been improvements made with METCO. And one of them is that there is a METCO parent who actually sits on the school committee at this point. But it's frustrating because they sit on the committee, but they're not a voting member.
They're not a voting. Yeah.
And like that really sucks. Excuse my language, but there isn't any way to make that happen. But I think the school committee listens, but we can do better. We need to do better. We're starting to do a little bit better, but we need to do even more better.
I think want to comment. My granddaughter.
I want to respond to that.
Well, hang on a second, Deborah.
Okay.
I think we've got
Black people
Sally.
have so much on our plates. We do our best.
My granddaughter.
Yeah, I know Bill wants to speak. Sally wants to speak. I wanted to mention something. Bill, go ahead.
Thank you. My granddaughter went to Loja and is now at Wilson. She has had a black teacher that was thought very highly of. So there is at least one in the system. That's all I know for positive 100%. Her mother said she thought she had a few, but I know she had one that she spoke very
That's
highly
great.
of.
That's great. That must be new.
So
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is that you were rightly concerned about the response to using the N-word. That's an area where I would think it would be mandatory to have training, and those teachers have to be assertive about it. Stop it right
Yes.
there. And I think that's a school committee superintendent
Mhm.
discussion.
I mean,
That-
I agree with you, obviously. I feel that squash it,
Yeah,
it's
that's
over,
where- that's
we're
where-
done.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, and
Yeah.
it's an educational moment as
Right.
well.
I
For the
agree.
kids,
Right.
but that's
100%.
inappropriate, and they'll
The
get it.
problem is that like a lot of black kids use the word too.
Right.
Well, that
You
maybe,
know.
yeah.
But there is a way
You know,
to
the-
say, there's
Yeah.
there's words you can use in school and there's words you don't use in
Right,
school.
right,
And
right.
my kids don't walk into school and use the F word, like that would not be, but they might use that with their friends. I mean, that is a possibility.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, not that they never do that, but I mean, there's things you say in school and there's behaviors we choose. I mean, so we're Episcopalian, so we say our prayers on Sundays in a church. We do, when we go to a choir, we sing in a choir, and there's behavior for school, there's school behavior, and there's out of school behavior. And I do think that there can be a line, and until we kind of start to stop the fear of disciplining that, it's a big issue.
It's
I
so
know
rare
Sally
that
wanted to weigh in if we could let her speak. Sally,
Hi.
yeah.
Yes, I'd like to share a kind of a gratitude because Deborah, you're talking with us about the experience of young people in Natick. You know, as a senior citizen, there's a sort of a decorum in our life, in the worlds that we live in. And we don't realize sometimes, unless you're like Donna so wonderfully on school committees and with the teenagers. And you give such an insight, Debbie, about what your girls are experiencing, and you're coaching them. They're not unalert, they're not naive. And I feel like Natick has a wonderful opportunity here to keep our adult awareness about what our youngsters are experiencing and stay in tune and be supportive of all the things. Now, you know, Paul, with working with military, young African Americans, has another slice of life that he offers. And I'm very grateful to be part of the learning process in the Black Lives Belong. And it makes me feel real alert and awake finally to have your perspective that you're sharing with us and that your young girls are experiencing bravely. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you.
I
Sally.
see Paulie's got his hand up as well, but I did just want to get a question out on the table that either Deborah Mitchell, Deborah Seher, or anybody else could respond to is what is anybody observing about the other students' reactions to seeing this? I don't know, Deborah, if your daughters have any white friends or just
They have lots
kids
of
who
friends.
identify kind of as allies. You know, I don't want to put responsibility on them to stand up, but is anybody observing that they do stand up and say, how could you do that? You know, and
My girls are very lucky that they have really good peer groups, both of them, and they do have primarily white peer groups. It has been, I mean, that's
do they have their
just-
backs at all? Do those kids have their backs?
I think they do, but I think that it's really hard. And I think, I think that there's some just not knowing still at this age. We're talking about a freshman and sophomore in high school. And my girls are both really sweet and really quiet kids. And they have kind of that group of peers that are sweet, quiet kids that are not big talkers. And but they do have the social justice warriors amongst them too. It's very hard to stand up to it. And my daughter would say it's the ice cream scoop boys that do a lot of this, and that's a haircut. And so, and I said, okay, what's that? Yeah. So, and they don't have the type of voices or the type of group that can fight back against some of these louder, more brusque kids. I mean, it's just a really difficult situation for 14, 15, 16-year-old kids to try to handle. And when the teachers struggle to handle some of these things and the administrators struggle to know what the right thing is to do. And I will say, I mean, the N-word was written all over Brown last summer, and I reached out to our new superintendent who had just come on board, and she took care of it right away that day. But it's a difficult position for kids to be in, and we had the lovely concert last week where the Golden Tones sang with the high school choir. And it was extremely well attended. And in that room, my daughter was the only Black human being in that room. And it was Common Space Spiritual Center was packed. And Donna and I were there. She was the only Black human in that room. And so even that in and of itself is enough to kind of squash your ability to raise your voice, because it can be very scary to raise your voice when you're consistently the only. And if you look through high school yearbooks and look at the teams and look at the makeup of teams, and when you are consistently the only, it is very difficult. And so building allyship is important, but it's hard for high schoolers, and they really need their grown-ups telling them still at this age, like, hey, this is what racism is. This is what you should do when you see it. And I think that the school is supporting more of that type of training, and that's something we at Black Lives Belong would like to be bringing in more speakers to be able to do that, because it is really hard, and kids, it's a struggle. I mean, teenagers are teenagers.
We're actually really excited about that. I want to just pick up on what you're saying, not bringing in a new point, but the decision to become a 501c3 is a very careful one and thought out one. And I think our hope is that we can bring in, especially Black speakers and speakers who are conversant in racism, who could provide some role models, leadership for people in town that has such a small portion. And I think we've got a couple of administrators now too, but I think that it's easy for them to become burnt out.
Yeah,
And
Art Ferguson has a lot on his shoulders.
A lot.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to Deborah Mitchell as well. And Deborah, I wanted to ask you kind of the same question, particularly where your daughter was on the basketball team. I would hope that some of her teammates would have had her back too. Deborah Mitchell?
They had her, can you hear me?
Yes.
They had her back. I mean, these girls bonded so well together. She went over to their houses. She had sleepovers. I met the mothers. They were just so sweet and kind, and we really had a good experience. The people in Natick, they were very, very well embracing, and then they went all the way they won second place in the state. So they went to the Basketball Hall of Fame. And about the N-word, if you're a white person, please don't use the N-word. Never use it. We as Black people have co-opted it because of the struggle that we were in. We say happen stuff, but if you're a white person, don't call anyone Black the end. There's a hate speech, and you might even get in trouble, get hurt. I'm just kind of cautioning and warning people that that's not a word that you as white people should be slinging or saying. It's offensive to us. We don't I would say it on the line. I mean, we right here, because that we had the Omar over in Wayland, and he was fired. He was a Black superintendent, which is a town right over, and he was they put his name and word equals Omar. It was a big controversy. So I couldn't imagine being a white mom of a Black child in a totally white town. If your children don't have role models or close friends, big sisters, anything, mentors that could help them to navigate the system. Like I said, I have a big family, and I also wish that some of the people, Sally, Paul, Donna, would acknowledge that we worked, the work that Black Lives Matter did, and that work that we did together, the Black speakers we brought in, the trainings we did. I feel a bit slow that nobody would say, you know, like Donna, you were a committee member, Paul, you were the community liaison. We did a lot of good work in Natick.
I,
Doug,
I can affirm that, Donna. Deborah, you really did. I want to also acknowledge that I see Kristen Pope has joined
oh,
the
good.
discussion, and of course she has daughters in the school system too.
Oh, this is
So
great.
I
Thanks.
see Pat's got his hand up, but Kristen may want to come off mute and weigh in on this as well. But let's go to Pat. Pat.
I had a couple of questions, probably to Deborah, Seher, and Donna. The training for teachers. I remember in Wayland, where I taught for 25 years. Of course, I've been retired about 15 years, but even then, we had trainings that were optional, but we also had trainings that were mandatory. So the staff was actually being, helped to understand this stuff a lot better. And the other thing is, I was wondering if you have any help with or from some of your allied groups, like or the kids, their Black Latino Student Union is a support, or the Natick is United, or Smart Kindness, and some of these other groups that are trying to do positive things. I was just wondering if any of that is supportive to you folks.
So I think Natick is United has been fantastic, and the trainings that they bring in have just been awesome. I mean, I started, my older kids started school in Wayland, so I'm very familiar with the Wayland schools and the West End schools because my 4 olders went through those systems. And I would say the Wayland Public Schools kind of rock it, and they are pretty amazing with the trainings they do, or at least that they were doing. My oldest, I'm showing my age, is 29 now, and so that was quite a few years ago that she started out at Loker. But I think one of the issues that our schools have had is we have a lot of young teachers right now, and I think that may be a COVID-esque situation. I don't quite know what it is, but we have a lot of young teachers, some that graduated with my oldest daughter. And so maybe they haven't cycled through some of the racial trainings that happen in town. And I always think we can have a more robust, and we have to look at the world we're living in right now. And this world is a different world. When I adopted my Maribel, my youngest daughter, we had Barack Obama. We were, I think there were a lot of people that were feeling like we were in somewhat of a post-racial world. And I think that was a very hopeful time. I think we're in a less hopeful time right now with a lot more racism, and there's more anti-Semitism, there's more racism. There's, you name it, the bad has come out. And so maybe we need a different form of training at this point. But Pat, I do think Wayland had an excellent program back then. And I mean, Natick is United has been fantastic. I think that their trainings and the work that they're doing is certainly something to really look up to. And I think that they are supportive, whether they're supportive on a one-on-one basis with kids. As I walk around and talk to Black children and find kind of the rate of school avoidance within our Black adolescent community is much higher than some other communities. I think there's work to be done, and it could be a sign of our times, and that's something that we really do have to acknowledge. I mean, we have emboldened right now in our country hate.
Yeah.
Natick is United has expressed an interest in working with us and we're growing ourselves, we're trying to grow ourselves thoughtfully and slowly. And I think you raise an important point about training because you don't engage in racial training or training about anti-Semitism or training about prejudice. It's not once and for all. You have to keep doing it because you have to help people to become so aware that they recognize that they can always have the potential to be racist, always have the potential to be, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, that you always have to have that lens on so that you don't do it. So we need a lot for professional development, and that's a great question. It has to be ongoing. It's not enough to do, let's do a training every 3 years or whatever, in whatever cycle.
Yeah.
It has to be continuous.
Paulie's had his hand up for quite a while too. I apologize, Paul, I had skipped over you. Go ahead.
Yeah. And can you put Cindy on the list too? She's had her hand up for a while over here.
Right, Paul, you just got to come off mute to speak. There you go.
I'm sorry, yeah. But we can't time our hands up, so let's just, I respect Doug's ability to do that, so. Yeah, so training's a big thing in my world too, and as adults, do we learn faster? I don't think so. Do we comprehend better? I don't think so either. I love Deborah's two daughters, and I made a comment at one of our meetings. I think it was Black Lives Belong. We're lucky that we live in a community like Natick, where there's no prejudice. And then I pulled my thumb out of my ear and said, "Wait a minute, that's a dumb statement." Just because I'm not involved in the daily stuff, I know it's here. I know it's here in Natick. I know it's prevalent in some families. Deborah, for example, and when I talked to her and talked to her lovely two daughters, I said to myself, "This is a shame that this should happen." And I have a daughter that's 26 years old, has gone through the native school system, and I've been told the horror stories by her. And I grew up in that terrible age of the late 60s and 70s, right through the 80s, and when it was common, racism was common, and it was absolutely horrible time to grow up. I was going to college, and it was an absolute horrible time. I don't know who was given a harder time, the Vietnam veterans coming home or the African Americans going to Northeastern University, but it stunk. And I lived through that, and I lived with it to this day. And I think this is such an important group that Doug and Seher run Coffee with a Purpose, because there's enough people that are involved here. You got people like Ricky Ball, who's like the mayor of Natick, Christian Pope, the new breed of Natick, and it's just absolutely terrific to have such a even Carrie, such a well-rounded group here in Natick, and I thank all of you for being active as you are and listening to people like me. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Paulie. So I know Cindy wanted to speak, and I do want to invite Kristen to speak as well. Certainly an important voice in town. But Cindy?
It occurred to me when you were talking about your daughter's experience in.
Can you speak up just a bit, Cindy, or get a little bit closer?
Deborah, you talked about your experience in the store right on the corner. And
Oh, no, paper store in the Sherwood Plaza.
okay,
Yeah.
is there a possibility of connecting with businesses to do training about bias and following? And does that happen anywhere? And is there a model that could be used here in Natick? Because it seems like that affects, like, there's so many businesses in Natick, right? And whether, however few or many people there are who are people of color who go into these stores. Not to make the schools less, but it seems like the schools is for just kids. And if we're talking about the whole population, that seems like it's a.
I think
I mean,
it's hard
but it's like
where
something to
so
pay
many
for.
people that work in stores are kind of a transient work population,
yes.
because a lot of times at the paper store, it was teenagers or young adults.
So,
And I know that I brought it up to Target one time when I saw my godchild be followed around, and my biological child was not, and my godchild's from Ethiopia.
yeah,
And Target does do those trainings, or they used to. Now they've ended their DEI movement. So I know some stores have done that. I do think it's really hard when, you know, you get teenagers coming in and out, college kids coming in and out. What would training look like?
yeah.
I think it's a good point. Yeah.
And the mall was sued actually for racial profiling, all of the anchor stores. At the time, it was Lord and Taylor, Macy's, JCPenney, it might have been Sears, and the stores lost. I mean, it was clear that they were engaging in racial profiling.
So
But
then
did it
there's
matter? Did they
financial
stop?
Motivation for them to go on board.
With doing some
Yeah.
sort of training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
if they weren't paying for it.
Yeah. Yep. No,
Kristen, I see you've turned your video on. Do you want to speak? And I don't know how much of the discussion you've heard. Hopefully you've gotten the gist of kind of what the issue is.
Well, first of all, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Coffee with a Purpose. I did come in mid-discussion, and I'm fortunate to be here. Very fortunate to just listen in on this conversation. And I'm grateful, Doug and Sarah, that you hold this on Mondays, this forum. It is extremely important that we're able to have these platforms to discuss these issues. So thank you so much. I want to give gratitude to Black Lives Belong. I want to give gratitude to Deborah Mitchell. She is absolutely right. I am so grateful for Deborah's work in this community around uplifting Black voices, Black bodies, Black issues. I am so grateful. I give gratitude to Ricky Ball and Gamel DeCavarlo. I give gratitude to them for how they have pressed through and continue to fight for systemic issues. And I think that's one of the things that I think about in this conversation is the trainings are critically important. The cultural competency is critically important in our school systems, in our town. And I want to take it a step further. The step further that I want to take it is to systemic reparation. And systemic reparation or systemic repair goes beyond trainings, right? It goes beyond trainings. Progress is incremental, but at a point, for real progress to happen, it has to be systemic. It has to be systemic. And that is something that takes a long time to do because systemic change is at the root of a thing. It's at the foundation of a thing. It's not topical. Leaves and fruit is topical, but roots are foundational and systemic. And that is critical. And that is the place where we have to be most focused, because if we are focused on the root, if we are focused on the network, if we're focused on the connection of foundation, then what we will bear, the fruit that we will bear will be different. It will be the fruit of progress. And ultimately freedom. I've said this in a number of forums. The goal is freedom. The goal is freedom. It is not to be kind with one another. That is a great thing. It's not to be civil with one another. That is a necessary thing. It is to be free. And freedom is systemic. It is spiritual. It is economic. It is racial. That is freedom. And we are all seeking that as if we live intertwined and interconnected with one another. The saying of Fannie Lou Hamer, none of us are free until all of us are free, is true. And so I just ask that we keep that in our hearts, that the goal is freedom. And if we work, we must work with the goal in mind. We must work with the goal in mind. We can do a whole lot of nice things that don't achieve the goal. And I'm so appreciative for all that Natick does. There's a lot of communities who are not willing. One of the things that drew me to get involved in Natick was because Natick had heart to be moved, heart to be pliable, heart to be malleable, heart to care for its people. That drew me to want to get involved in this town, and I believe it is still true. I mean, we saw that over the weekend with the thousands of people on the common protesting, willing to raise their voices, willing to use their bodies to demonstrate the need for freedom and justice. And so we must continue to stay focused on the goal of freedom and justice as we do what we do, and just check our hearts as we go forth and make plans. We should seek to do just work that promotes systemic freedom. So I thank you all. I'm grateful for the Juneteenth event that is coming up. My husband's birthday is on Juneteenth, so that's always a challenging day for me because while I serve every single day, I want to give and save something for my beautiful husband that uplifts me to be able to do this work so liberally with a daughter who is in the school system. So I must save some space and some time for my husband on Juneteenth. But I love you all. I love you all. I'm so grateful to be and serve in Natick, Massachusetts, something I could have never imagined in my very young youth. But I am so grateful for all of you all, your hands and your hearts. We need them together. And community. I'm reminded of the word community, common unity. We are here with a common purpose in unity together. Let's remain in community, people. God bless.
Kristen, thanks for those words. I do want to ask you maybe a bit more specifically. The whole first part of the discussion, largely probably before you joined, is kind of Black children's experiences in the Natick school system, the things that still happen, the teachers' reactions or lack of reactions, or level of training to be able to deal with it. I guess I'd just ask, to the extent that you have willingness to do this, to share any experiences of your own family's interactions with this, but then also as a town official, what awareness, and I know it's school department, school committee, not select board per se, but just are you, how much are you, how are you seeing the issue from your perspective, either as a parent or as a town official?
Absolutely. I've shared this with a number of people, so I can speak transparently that when my daughter entered the Natick school system, and I'm specific to Natick because there were events that happened prior to her entering our school system. When she entered the school system, she was aggressed by another student for her skin color. She was in kindergarten. And her teacher was, deeply distraught by the events that happened in the classroom. And she raised them as quickly as she could. And the school rallied. I felt like the school rallied. The administration really tried to support Lily, her safety, her psychological safety. And I greatly appreciated that. I will also say that there was harm done by a school instructor. And it was very harmful. It's very harmful and very distressing while she was a kindergartner. And that was a teaching lesson again for all of us. It was when I started to dig in deep as to where are the Black families? Why doesn't the school system have a database of families of color so that children who are in the deep minority have allyship? That's a question that hasn't yet been addressed. In her current classroom, she has a veteran teacher who really has a deep level of cultural competency, and I am grateful for that because there hasn't been much to happen, but when when slights have happened, she has been right there to jump in. And that's so necessary. It is necessary that our officials have cultural competency. I have learned that it's not about an if this happens, it's almost certain a win. And so if it's going to be a win, then we need instructors and teachers and administration who is readily able to handle it when it happens. I am not on the school committee. However, my representation on the select board, as I said when I ran, was also as a parent of a school-aged child in the school. And I saw that most representative when we had the override vote. I believe that because I'm a woman of color, families who have either children of color or know of children of color feel comfortable coming to me to say, this thing has happened. What do we do? Where can I find support? How can I get help? And I'm grateful that there's a place of safety, that people feel as though, at the very least, there's somebody that I can go to who can get to the people I need to get to, or who can help me strategize this because they know my issue. They know what I'm going through. It is a large burden, but it is one that I think we have to carry together. So my purview of it is close. And I'm grateful to be able to help where I can.
Thank you for sharing that. I don't see other hands up at the moment, but who's got other comment? Oh, Ricky. Yeah, you just got to come off mute, Ricky, if you wanted to speak. Sometimes a little difficult.
I could eventually.
Paul, you want to jump in real quick while Ricky's finding that? You got to come off mute as well.
That's what I figured. Well,
Ricky's off mute.
I'll wait for Ricky.
Yeah.
Again, forgive me, I came in late, and so in terms of being right on focus, I may not be, but I have a question first for Donna. The new group, the 501c3 that you've established, what is its a short line on what its mission is? As I listen to the conversation, I'm thinking of people that I know who have either who are white families with Black children, whom I can point to that group and say, here's a group where you have expertise. I'm sure, you know, you will at the very least have interest and possibly a willingness to help. There are other groups like Christ Lutheran Church that has adopted a family from Africa. I'm not sure if it's from Cameroon or Togo, and they have a very active group, biracial and concerns and activity. The Methodist Church has an African American minister who I met when I was on the Housing Authority, a very vibrant and wonderful woman who I'm sure would be involved. I just need to know more about the scope of your organization and what you, the path you are looking to take to achieve a feeling of common humanity in our community.
Well, I think we're looking especially to educate, and I didn't have my first Black teacher until I was in college at Smith, and that's unbelievable as I think back on it. I had no role model of a brilliant academic, involved, social justice caring Black woman until that age. And part of what we're trying to do with our group is to be intergenerational And we want our children and we want people in Natick, white people, black people, to have role models. And as Kristen spoke so poignantly, freedom is a goal, and freedom is something we're all working toward. And this Juneteenth is probably more important now than ever, because we're just all so divisive. DEI is being eviscerated like everywhere. So this work is even more important to do. And I hope as a 501c3, we would have access to more, hopefully, unless that's all gone, but we would have access to grant monies and funding that would allow us to invite in accomplished, successful, professional Black people, so that people have that role model, that we can educate them so that nobody has to wait. I mean, maybe you won't be lucky enough to have the one Black teacher at Lilja or the one Black teacher somewhere else, but you will have no excuse for not knowing of the accomplishment. We're lucky we have Kristen. We are so lucky we have her as a role model in this town. And I think we just want to keep building on that. And we want to enhance freedom. And this affects big time the self-esteem of our children also. You know, there's that, it's kind of old now, but Toni Morrison's poignant book, The Bluest Eye. And when you form your identity in conjunction with something you can never be, because you're not part of, you know, the mainstream society, we need to help people recognize their beauty, their ability to contribute as thoughtful citizens in every way that we can. And there's never enough education being done on racism. So one of our important goals, I think, is education, is to continually educate, raise consciousness in the community, so that people really are free to be themselves. I hope that's helpful, and happy to share more as we develop thoughtfully our principles of incorporation that's necessary for that paperwork. So thank you for your very good question.
Thanks for that. Deborah, I see you have your hand up again.
I wanted to say thank you to also to Kirsten. When she became the select board, the first Black woman select board, I felt more affirmed living here in Natick and more safe, which a lot of people bring up how safe do we feel as Black people here in Natick. But when Kristen Pope became the first Black select woman, I felt more seen in Natick and more valued in Natick and more affirmed. And she's always been there for me, and I appreciate her. And I also wanted to say I appreciate Lily Pope, who is our star. She starred in the play, and Miss Lily tore that play up. She was great. And so, because Natick is also a cultural district, I found my way in Natick with my Pop and Bean books. I love my little Pop and Bean babies, and they love me. And Natick is a cultural district. Again, thank you, Kristen, your husband Richard, for your work you do in Natick, and Lily, who is comes from a strong Black family and our star of the show. Bye.
Thanks for that, Deborah. We are approaching 10:30. I just want to say for myself, this discussion has been so important. At least I had at least an initial conception that when we started or put it on the calendar, we were just going to be talking about Juneteenth and all the things that the town was going to do, and that, you know, the festival that'll kick off at 10:30 and go throughout the afternoon. And gee, what a great thing to feel good about it. And it is a good thing to feel good about. But gosh, thank you so much for the testimony of so many people that have demonstrated that there is some real work to do in this town. And with the current environment, that work is maybe getting even a little bit more difficult. But I think we can step up to it as long as we know it's there for us to do.
There's one
Paul,
more question.
Yeah.
Question over here.
Yes.
1 second.
Oh, got a couple over there. Yeah, we got Gary over here is question now after Paul.
1 second, I've had my hand up.
yeah, go Paul, yeah.
I have a gentleman in my office, black gentleman. He's chosen all went in the military. He lives here in Natick, and he lost a son earlier this year to suicide. And I've been working with this gentleman for a while since that day, and he's got a second son that's in crisis now. I'm gonna work with him, and we'll save this son. We'll get him the right treatment, right programming, and so forth. But he just happened to come in this morning, and we're on this discussion. As was said earlier, that Paul deals with black people in Natick as veterans and family members, and this is a prime example. He walked in this morning. He just happened to walk in during this meeting, and I'm going to go back to taking care of him and his second son, and prevent any major issues with his family again. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for that work, Paul. So difficult to do. So glad you're there. Martin, did you have somebody else at Metrowest to speak?
I was gonna ask more of a comment. Do they not I mean, you can't get through to every kid or even a lot of kids, but don't they do bullying, anti-bullying at school anymore? Like in kindergarten and then on?
We do it, and there's a policy on anti-bullying, but it needs to be better.
Sure.
I mean, all I can say is it needs to be better, and it doesn't always happen that children are confronted in helpful ways, responsible ways, when they engage in bullying. And the focus now on the schools is restorative justice, and that's really complicated. And I think we're trying to, the schools are trying to make that work, and also have a zero tolerance for racism. But you know, it's really hard because the onus is so much on the Black child to speak up. It's always the victim, right? It's always the victim who has to speak up. It's always the Jewish child who has to speak up. It's always the Muslim child who has to speak up. And it's tough to do if you're a kid.
Well, absolutely. I'm just surprised that even a teacher, and even if they're young, that, you know, they're in charge in the classroom, that they don't say, hey, that's not appropriate. And, you know, and almost leave it at that until after class, and then get to the next level, whatever. But to say nothing as a teacher kind of seems, I mean, it's hard for peers to say it, and I get that. You know, you have to be a pretty brave soul to stand up in class and say something, but for a teacher, you know, you don't have to, you know, be friends with your class, you know, you don't have to like, you know,
No.
be afraid of them, so to speak. So it's surprising that they wouldn't be able to say, at least at a minimum, say, hey, that's inappropriate, and we'll talk about it later.
I think some do.
I'm sure some,
But I think
they all should.
they all should, and we can be better at this. I mean, we can be better at this out in the community too. If we overhear conversations where somebody's being belittled, I mean, shame on us if we don't speak up.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. Brinley, you have your hand up. Did you want to add some stuff? Thank you for the link too.
Yeah, I'm always grateful for people standing up. So I'm grateful to everyone here today. I know Kristen just had to leave, but I'm always grateful for her voice as well. Sorry, I couldn't get it in before she left. I just wanted to point out the links, but also to say that one of the things that I'm learning in my own activism in town is that writing letters to the leaders and to the groups that do it is really a great way to help encourage direction. And so I know that Spark Kindness does really incredible work here in Natick, and if we would like to see collectively them do more work specifically towards Black children bullying and bullying, you know, specific types of bullying in our schools. They do that work already. And so if we wanted to email them and say, hey, we'd really like to see addition in this direction, I think that that would help them choose that direction as well. So I've put their link in there. And I do think that Natick is United is working really hard towards all of this as well. And again, if you wanted to send Miriam or any of them a link, a letter to say that we'd like to see in this direction, I think that's helpful for them. And I know for sure that if we want to see more change for this in terms of the school committee, that the best way to do it is to email them regularly and to get as many people as to email them. That's how change happens. That's how we got the pride flag flying. So I do think if we want to see change, then we need to engage the school committee more. We need to show up and have public speak at the beginning of their meetings and say, hey, we're seeing this as a real issue, and we're not seeing that it's getting the attention that we'd like for it to see. So I do think that that's one way that we could have a voice that could help make a difference.
I need to insert a correction in here. The pride flag flies because it's school committee speak. It does not fly at the urging of the public. In fact, it would be illegal if the school committee decided to fly that flag on the basis of the public. It can only fly that flag because it's school committee speak. So I just needed to correct that.
I just need to step in for that, Donna. It was originally brought to the attention of the school committee by the public. You are correct. It is because of their choosing to have that speak, but it was brought by the public, and the public stood their ground and said, we'd like for you to look at this as speak. And I do believe that type of activism really helps in this town.
I think your point about influences is really important, and thank you for bringing attention to Spark Kindness and Natick is United. As you point out, there's our fabulous groups, and your suggestions are, as always, wonderful.
We have Deborah is now here in person.
Yes.
Except she's got to get her phone out.
Oh, God.
Just turn it on silent.
Okay. I just want to thank.
She can leave the meeting.
Maybe, yeah, you
Okay.
could just,
All right, I just want to thank Donna for being a good friend, Bruno being a good friend in the Black Lives Matter group, and Donna, now we have a person of color on the school committee. Isn't that correct? Patel.
Yes. we
Yes,
do.
we should
We
mention
do.
that.
We do, and yes, we do.
So that should make some difference. Is that the first person of color ever on the school
As a
committee?
voting member, yes.
Wonderful. What a great
And 10% of our community is 80. So
yes.
his representation, I think, could make a difference.
That's wonderful. Well, what is his name?
Jamin.
Jamin Patel, yeah. I see Ricky's also got her hand up, Ricky.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to congratulate through Coffee with a Purpose, the people of Natick who came out and who stood in the No King parade, No King protest. It was wonderful. It was inspiring. There were people of every color there. There was humanity, and people acknowledged that humanity across color lines, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I think that people came away from that saying, all right, I know I can do something. Now, what else can I do? And I hope that spirit will permeate the rest of the town, and that we can go forward together to make sure that our democracy lives.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I
that.
hope it will too,
Ricky.
and I hope people will come out to Juneteenth.
Yes.
And
Speaking of Juneteenth, could somebody outline the activities of the day? I know, is it?
Yes, it starts with a reading,
What is the slave?
what is the slave for the 4th of July? And it's a community reading, and they still actually need readers. So if you're able to come,
It's at 10:30.
It's at 10:30, but I can give you more information. It's being coordinated by the Historical Society.
Is that at the Common this year? or the
Yes,
library?
yes, it's
Yeah,
at
It was at the library, now it's at the
No,
Common.
it's at the Common, and there are some speakers, and there are, great groups of Black musicians, and there are also tables. Deborah has a
Yeah,
table for popping beans.
No, for one, Metro Black Lives Matter, Metro West. My table is Black Lives Matter, Metro West.
Okay.
Correction, yes, and I was able to get, by the way, Ricky, we thank you for your service, we love you. And Edelweiss. I won't sing it to you now, so I always sing my Edelweiss with you. And I was able, Donna, to get the Crocodile River music, did you know that? They're coming back, they're African.
Yes,
drummers.
yes, the music is great.
And you're gonna be playing, right? Does everybody have a Juneteenth shirt? If you don't, let me know, because we get the Juneteenth shirts. If you want one, or African American shirt. And we at my table, we have a wonderful woman, Mary Ann Brokowski, who is coming, she's from Wayland, she's on my team, Metro West team, and she's making bracelets for all the kids. We have the Pop and Bean books and stickers, right? And Donna, you have your t-shirts and stuff?
We have Black Lives Belong t-shirts and we have swag too.
Yes.
We have Juneteenth tattoos. They're temporary.
I want
And
one.
we have prizes, because we're gonna have kind of a Black trivia contest, and Paul Carew has generously donated some challenge points. And plus, we are trying to get some donations to become a 501c3. We need $500 to make our application, so.
Yes.
That's what we're hoping for, so that we can do some really substantial and important work.
Yeah.
And enabling freedom and doing some role modeling for people in town.
I'll pledge some money. Also, I've come to tell you that we have a Cape Cod connection. And I went down the Cape yesterday and I have the first inclusive book for Cape Cod, and yours truly is in the book. My nephew is the Cape, my nephews that come and stuff to show off and help me. And they put me in, so all my books are in this. And I'm gonna pass it around, and we'll have some of these and some, also the College Light Opera is gonna be on the Cape, and I have some of those for you guys. Go down the Cape, see the operas, they're gonna have some, the DEI supports the opera on the Cape. So that's all I have to say.
Go. I have to go.
Oh,
My son taking
Oh,
over.
tell my son hi.
Yeah.
Thank you
Tell
all.
my son hi.
Yeah, it has gone past 10:30 at
Thank
this
you.
point, so thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hope to see everybody on Thursday. Yeah.
She's a professor at Wells.
You know, for the well?
And she
Okay,
specializes
Thanks.
in the Department of History, and I happened to have gone to hear her talk at the Historical Society last year, and then when I had a question in my book about wording, I wrote to her, and she was very generous, but she studies how, she studies the evolution of Blacks in America and how that's changed over time, the perception of their part
Is that
in
Brenna?
US history.
Brenna Greer?
Brenna.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna be
So
speaking
she's-
at Juneteenth,
It's
yeah.
really special, and she's a native resident, so
Yeah.
it's really special that she's going to be, I don't know if she's gonna give a little talk as well.
She's
Yeah,
giving
she
a
is.
response to
Okay.
the
She is.
communal
Yeah.
meeting.
So that should be really.
She'll be
really
there,
special
yeah.
to come to that part.
And if you
Yeah.
wanna sign up, you could, we can do that. We can send you the link if everybody wants to speak, a speaking part. Martin, are you speaking this year?
I think I'm tied up in cooking.
What about Doug and Sarah? You guys speaking?
Yeah, we're both speaking, so.
Signed up? Good.
Yep.
Well, I
Yeah,
wanna-
so see those links. I shared the screen a moment ago. Brinley had put the link in the chat for how to
What
sign
about my
up and
show?
a list of events and so forth. And also the link, yes, Deborah, to your show, Keeping It Real, where you also talked about Juneteenth and had other current events. So
Yeah.
enjoy that
Here,
day,
Ellen.
rest of this
I
week,
gotta go.
everyone. And
Have to go.
yeah.
Thank you.
cool.
Oh, it's hot in here.